So we have her bio. Okay. So most of you know her by now. In 30 years, she's been much more than a patient coordinator, but a lot of you might identify with that. And she's an administrator and a partner in a MediSpa and a cosmetic surgery center, along with Dr. Jean Kane, who we'll get to see today. I'm very excited. I haven't seen Jean in a while. And she is a patient educator and probably wears about 20 different hats. And so she's great at practice marketing, and she has a med spa as well as the plastic surgery center, which she does all of the consult. And we'll actually get to see her live doing a consult and talking to the patient with Dr. Kane, and then afterwards the closing process. And that is very important to watch and learn from. And we're happy to go over and teach you or give you scripts or role play with you. So you can close as much as Lauri does, which sounds like 95% of all of her consults. And so now, Lauri, will unmute you and you get to be on live with me again. How are you?
Good, good. Thank you. How are you?
And happy birthday to you as well.
Thank you. Yes, it's been a wonderful day. Actually, Dean did the most amazing tribute to me today at lunch. He actually, this was a total surprise, but he did 65 yards of pictures, since I'm 65 today, of our lifetime, and just strung it out. So he has 65 yards of pictures of us, our friends, our family, and things. And it was such a nice surprise. It was a
so
surprise.
Well,
yeah, it was.
He's a special guy, and that's why you're still with him. So that's all.
I know. And then he made up a song for me, like the Beatles song, you know, since I'm, you know, while I'm 65. And so he wrote a lyrics of you know, when I'll be 65. So, and he wrote all the lyrics. So it was an incredible, it's been an incredible birthday day.
Well, happy birthday. And
thank you.
I'm another Gemini, so we're two Geminis. So that's there's really 4 of us here instead of 2 of us.
That's right. That's why we get, and actually, yeah, that's why we get along so well.
Probably.
Yeah.
So this is a video that you were great to share with us. You did your patient consult last week, the initial one. And then this is the second part to the consult where you then discuss with Dr. Kane what is going on with the patient, and then the patient gives the final approval. Following that, we'll talk a little bit, and then we have another video of you actually doing the closing, talking and asking about patient financing options, and is it okay? And it is obviously a patient that you know, so it's an easier sell than something you don't know. And we can talk about that after. So we'll play the video now, so those that are watching that are limited time, they could watch it along with us.
Okay, so Donna and I have been talking. This is now her 4th year post her facelift. She's coming back for her yearly fillers and Dysport. And she wants pretty much the same thing you did for her last time. Filler and a filler, breast and lip, and her cheeks to kind of give her a little bit more oomph there. Right. It's the new filler kiss for her lips to give her a little bit more volume there. And then squeeze Donna. Not squeeze the other way. Like squeeze. There you go. So, and then to kind of do some Dysport here for her, and then give her the elevation. So that's our plan.
Okay, well, I agree with that. I think Donna, really what's happening is the aging process continues, so I want to carry your face back upwards like this, and so therefore we're going to use some of the filler up in here. That's going to bring volume back up into your upper face. Your lips will smoothen out, but they won't be over large with this new Restylane kiss. And then we want to bring your forehead up and decrease some lines for you. I think that would be wonderful.
Sounds great.
Thank you.
Right. We're looking forward to it. We're all set up for you.
All the patients should be so easy, right?
Yeah. When you get loyal patients, it's somewhat easy. Yes.
Absolutely. I mean, there are the ones that are the challenges, which we know, and those that have the obstacles, whether it's finance or they're worried about pain or they're worried about discomfort or downtime. But it sounds like most of the common things that you have pretty much underway because most of the patients know you already. I mean, which is great. And I think that that makes a big difference. I think you making that bond and building that relationship with the patient really makes the difference, because you seem to make everybody feel very comfortable. And it sounds like you do work at doing that. And you share with them what you've had done, and that you're 65. Most people wouldn't announce their age like you did. So I was happy to see that.
I mean, I just actually, right before this webinar, I met a new patient for the first time. She's actually having quill sculpting with our nurse. And my nurse comes in and says, you know, she wants to talk about her face now. And I hadn't met her before. So I went in, and she, to me, there were many things I would have liked to have accomplished with her. And I just started off with before and after pictures. And she, you know, was talking about her eyes, and she really has sun damage. I wanted to work with her sun damage, you know, and so I kind of started to use before and after photos to point out. I use those pictures to kind of, you know, she'll say, yeah, that's the problem I have. And I said, well, we use Obagi here. And she goes, nah, I used Obagi years ago. I'm at a point where I don't want to do my skin anymore. So I just kind of, I backed off, you know. So you have to really read the patient in terms of what they want to accomplish, what they don't want to accomplish. So, you know, I would have loved to taken care of her skin, but that's not what her agenda was. And I think you have to really, really listen to the patient. Her concern was the hollowness under her eyes. And then, you know, I came up with options in terms of a filler, you know, and then she was talking about surgery under her eyes, but she doesn't have she didn't have a good snap for doing a lower lid. So it's more of a reconstruction lower lid that we don't do. And then, you know, but I did explain the filler situation to her, and she's, yeah, that sounds really good. And then Dean wound up popping it. This has actually just happened. Dean wound up popping his head in. Before that, I learned that she teaches marketing, and, you know, and I got to learn about marketing, and she goes, well, you know, and I really connected with her. Like, I really understood what she did. And then we talked about her sending an intern to me, and I just met this woman, you know, and I've already developed, okay, I know what she does, you know, and it's important for her. She has the summer off, her students, she doesn't have students right now. So if she's going to do something, now's the time. Dean wound up popping his head in just because he did. And then he recommended a facelift for her. And she said, you know what, that's a possibility, and I could do it over the summer. I just think if you have this very easygoing, you know, honesty, because we said we don't feel comfortable doing your eyes, you need a reconstructive surgeon to do your eyes, but this is what we can do. I think when you tell patients what you can do, and you do it well, and what you can't do, and then all of a sudden they really appreciate that honesty. And I think that's the bottom line. If patients come off feeling like you're really sincere, and you have, you know, that we want the best for that patient, and if we can't provide it, we're not going to offer it. And when they get that sense, then they believe us. And when we say, this is what will work for you, and so they believe what will work, because we're telling them what we personally can't do, but we'll refer you to a specialist for it.
And I think, you know, you sharing your pearls with us, we totally appreciate. You know, for some people, and maybe because we're Geminis, I don't know, but some things like this come natural. When we do trainings and role playing, for some people, it's not natural. Whether it's listening, whether it's asking for money, whether it's saying, I had something done. I mean, the physician legally can't tell, you know, somebody who works there, well, tell them I did your breast implants or I did your facelift. You will go and do that. I know that. And maybe some of the staff would do the same because they're so loyal to him. But a doctor cannot tell somebody who is a patient coordinator or an employee, go tell the patients I did this on you. So, you know, you being honest and open, your personality is such, you don't find it difficult, just like I don't find it difficult with what I do. But for a lot of people, you have to kind of meld into the personality, or maybe it's not right. We've done a lot of mystery visits for plastic surgeons and med spas. And we see a lot of the problem is in the closing. That's why we're focused on that today, because a lot of people can't close. They can't ask for money. They don't know how to say it and feel comfortable. And a lot of the times it's their own issues with money, or their own issues in their life where they can't really ask for it. And so that takes a lot of training. And for you, it comes so natural, which is great to see. And I always think of you as the expert when it comes to genuine interest in the patient and being able to close and being an active listener. And so now we're going to watch a very short video of you all dressed up in COVID in your new COVID outfit. So we're going to listen to you now doing the actual closing part of the consult. That comes after the consultation. This is the closing.
Between the Dysport, the filler for the lips, and the filler for the cheeks. So it's a filler and a filler, plus the new filler Kiss. And I gave you a discount for doing multiple things. The total came out to $28.80. That's fine? Okay, do you need care credit at all? Or you want to, is the finance company that you do 0%? Charging them. Okay, perfect. All right, we'll get you all set up and get going. Okay, thanks. Thank you.
Well, that was great, and that was easy, and you did a great job at it.
I think the important part that I've learned in my years of doing this is that you don't know, you can't really read a person. Don't underestimate what a person wants for themselves. Like, don't second guess that this person can't afford something, because we have people who, I would have never thought would want to plunk down, $1,500, $2,000. We actually have such a breadth of diversity of patients in our practice, from, all ethnic groups, poor, wealthy, the whole range. And you should never really, just because you think someone may be poor, don't think that they don't want to spend for themselves. And I don't mean that in a negative way. They really want to take care of themselves. I had a police officer come in yesterday, and, again, an African-American woman, again, she's a police officer and she's a hardworking person. And I gave her a quote for fillers, and I talked to her about skincare. And, I said, it's going to be around $1,500. She goes, okay, that'll work. I said, and she goes, well, what else can I use? Because it's all about me right now. That's what you said. I really want to take care of me. So you have to kind of go with the flow with the patient, and she was open to spending the money. So you just don't shortchange the patient. Like, don't second guess that this patient just can't afford it. They do want to spend on themselves if they want to feel better about themselves, and you're there to help them feel better. And if you really think a person can only afford $500, then you're really not doing the patient justice. You're not really being fair to the patient. Let that patient decide what's expensive and what's not expensive. And so over this whole 30 years of working together, I've always been surprised. I keep surprising myself, that patients really want to take care of themselves. You just have to let them know what are their options, what's the costs. And if they say that's just too much, then I say, okay, tell me what you can afford. Let me work the numbers for you, and see, tell me what your range is, and I'll make it work. I'll figure out what is the best for you under your price range. So, but don't ever prejudge patients. You'll lose out if you start prejudging what they can and cannot afford. And it is an uncomfortable thing to tell people what things cost. I still don't feel great about having to tell someone, what a cost is, but over the years, it takes, the experience to realize patients will go forward if they believe in you and they want to really start taking care of themselves.
No, and I think you do a very good job of that. It's like the old story with the shopping bag old lady that comes in, and people think, oh my God, she can't afford anything. So just to your point, she might have more money than all of us put together.
Exactly.
So you don't ever really know, and you can't assume. And I know that you've done a lot on the Sunday, church soul radio, and you get people of all ethnic backgrounds, which is amazing. You're in Baltimore, which is a very ethnic area. And so it's nice that you're able to make it affordable. to everybody that that wants to look more beautiful, and that they all trust you and that you work within their budget, which is really important. And I guess if somebody does have budget restraints, they would let you know, or you'll see that there's a look or a feeling, and maybe that's when you say, oh, maybe we have patient financing options. Do you ever send
Right.
people to the med spa and say, why don't you start in the med spa? And then,
All of the,
right,
a lot.
what do you do? How do you?
Yeah, I think that's a great point, because a new patient, like a newbie who has never had an injectable, or, you know, and they're really afraid, they're anxious, they, you know, they need a starting point. They need to get to know us. They get, and I think the easiest way when I get that sense of anxiety from a patient, and I realize they're not quite ready to dive into surgery. They're definitely not ready to, you know, they may not be ready even to dive into Botox. So I'll say, you know, tell me, you know, where's your comfort zone? Well, I don't say it that way. I'll just say, well, what about if we just start with your skin? And people don't realize, I'm a huge proponent of Dr. Zainobaji's, you know, skin products, and the transformation that my own face has taken place over. It's a shame I don't have my before and afters up here, but you know, what I look like at 40 and what I look like now at 65, you'll say, wow, you looked older at 40. And so, and that was all because of Dr. Obaji's skin program and the chemical peels I've had over the years. And so I say, look, I promise you, we can make a change for you. Just let me take care of your skin. And it's such a great introduction to the practice, you know, letting them feel comfortable. And after a couple of months, they'll say, okay, I'm seeing a difference. And I think that's what's key about Dr. Obaji's products, is that you get really fast results with his line. And when patients feel confident, like, oh, wow, this stuff is really working. She wasn't just, you know, telling me a story here. You know, she really understood that I really needed this. And all of a sudden the face is glowing, it's clean, it's bright, and they see a nice difference. Then they'll say, okay, I'm ready to do Botox, my fillers. And that's a great way to get a patient comfortable with the practice.
So how do you work the crossover or the upselling from the med spa to your surgery center? I mean, they're obviously all in the same building from what you've mentioned.
I spent a lot of time kind of really looking at physical spaces before I moved into our space here. And I really learned a lot about, I really believed in cross-selling. That was a huge factor for building out a MediSpa, is the cross-selling factor. Because if you don't cross-sell between your own, you know, silo, your own profit centers, then why have them? It makes no sense to have a MediSpa downstairs, a MediSpa across town. You know, it just doesn't work. Our MediSpa is so, we flow as if we're one office. I would say that our MediSpa isn't necessarily a MediSpa. We have different rooms that are definitely beautiful rooms, but it really flows as one floor practice. And, you know, we're just one room apart from each other. The exam rooms and the esthetician rooms are literally next door to, are literally, you know, door to door. And so when a patient, you know, this happened yesterday all day, where, you know, my esthetician said she's really interested in fillers or Sculptra, you know, can you see her? I mean, I fit patients in. I don't say, okay, she has to make another appointment. You know, I'll just say, if she could sit tight for like the next 10, 15 minutes, let me finish up, I'll bring her back. And that's what I do. You know, I don't make people make a new appointment. I see them right then and there. My estheticians know, even when Dean's in surgery and they're seeing patients and they want me to see a patient, I never hesitate to just, when they come and say, Lauri, can you talk to this person? I'm always available, and I'm always ready to give that patient to kind of explain cool sculpting or surgery or injectables. So, I mean, I think, you know, for your audience, that the person who is that coordinator, or the person who's that saleswoman in that office who's, you know, trying to push the different surgeries or the different injectables, you have to be open and be very flexible. You can't say to your esthetician, I'm sorry, but I'm too busy right now. that just can't happen. If you want to build a practice, you have to have total openness. My door is wide open for my staff to come in and come get me anytime they need me to say, can you come talk to a patient? And I'm always available. So any coordinator just needs to be like that.
Well, I think the availability is important. I think the fact that you can get them in on the same day is also really important, because what happens in some practices, you know, you're there and you have to rebook, as you mentioned, an appointment, and then you can lose the patient right away.
You always lose them. You got to book them right when they want it, you know, otherwise you've lost it. So it's not, the timing is never right to say, yes, let's schedule you back. It's a hassle for the patient.
And then, you know, it's the same thing when they call on the phone and it rings, or they're put on hold, or they email and nobody gets back to them. And when we do mystery shopping, or when we have our own experiences, we've experienced that. What have you taught the staff when it comes to phones or rebookings or answering emails, or who answers the emails?
So I have a very strong system. I like pounded into my staff. I know what the cost of marketing costs, because I do the marketing, and I'm paying for that marketing, and my website is expensive. And so I actually have office meetings to tell my staff, this is what every single patient costs if I lose that patient. Mm-hmm. You don't want to ever lose a patient. And so the first thing is, I don't believe in having a recording when you answer the phone. There's no such thing as a recording in my office. You immediately get that phone rings one ring and it's picked up. And then my staff knows if it rings to a second ring, it means the first person is busy and the second person has to pick up. And then I have a third person who will pick up. So that phone doesn't ring more than 3 rings. And if I'm at a phone, I have no qualms picking up a phone myself. I just don't ever let a phone ring. I also notice if I'm on the phone and I see a person on hold for more than a minute, I get really upset with that, and my staff knows it. So, you know, I will finish my phone call and pick up that person who's holding, you know, and say, you know, can I help you? So I don't ever believe in letting a person being on hold and then not having your phones answered. So that's crucial. And if the person can't, in my staff, again, we have a triage type of system where my front office cannot always answer all the questions. So they know to either send it to me or a nurse that can answer the questions. Again, I want that person engaged in the conversation, and I don't want to lose that patient. When it comes to emails, I'm very much involved in, I'll plug the system. It's My Med Leads. I'm very pleased with this system. They actually, I want to get an email when an email inquiry comes over the, you know, through our website into email. I want that answered in a minute. I don't want it on hold. It can't wait 5 minutes. It can't wait an hour. It can't wait 24 hours. You have to call. We have a system, because My Med Leads lets you know how soon that person answered that lead. And I have 2 people on it at all times, always. I have someone who's actually now a stay-at-home mom who used to work for us. Okay. And it's perfect because she knows our office so well, and because she's up with the baby all the time, she'll answer 2 in the morning when it comes over. So it's pretty incredible. And then she goes on to My Med Leads, and then her name is in there saying what time she actually connected. So we call, we text, and we email. We do all 3 simultaneously if we can't get a hold of that patient. And then, you know, we'll check back over the, you know, within hours or the next day. And then if they're ones like the ones that I want to really hone in on, like our facelift ones, facelift inquiries, or injectable ones that I really, you know, that's the stuff that Dean loves to do. I actually will make sure that I get on that phone and call. I'm out walking and I'm calling patients. So
what you're doing is right. And I wish everybody would follow your lead. And even some providers, could be a doctor, could be a nurse practitioner, PA, and they're starting out. I tell them, it's okay. You can make the phone call, or you can answer the phone. And some people feel there's that line, there's that gray line, like when asking for money, there's a gray line of where they feel comfortable. And that's a problem that they have to work on getting over. And we're happy to train them and talk to them and do, phone calls and do webinars with them, or do video, test before they go out and do a video. You're a natural at it. You do videos all the time. We all know that the first few you do, or the first dozen or two you do, you get nervous. And then after that, it becomes easier and more natural. Same thing with these type of shows that we're doing. At the beginning, it's like, oh, wow, everything has to be perfect. Well, no, if my hair's not perfect or it's not perfect, it's okay. Because it's all about the knowledge and the information that, and keeping up with, with your clients or your patients as you do. But I think the follow-up that you're doing is great. And that really helps, I think, very much so in making you even more successful. People know you will get back to them and they know you're there. So as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't matter who the competitors are, because I am sure, not even knowing all of them, only knowing some of them, that you really are on top of the game and on top of it. So people do know that you're there, and then they get a great product and a great delivery between yourself, Dr. Kane, and your MedSpa, staff.
I mean, when you talk about, responding, Dean, he hasn't, because now we have the two staff members on it. Dean used to be the first one on it to email the patient. It was Dr. Kane doing those email responses, because he would watch me, work at this whole marketing thing, and recognized, okay, I've got to do my part. Even though I'm a physician, he's always been on top of those emails, and he writes a ton of blogs for Real Self. I mean, he is writing prolifically these blogs. He's like one of those top 100, and then we've gained in terms of, I speak a little Spanish, Dean speaks complete Spanish, and we hired specifically a Spanish receptionist to build up our Spanish base. Okay. And now we have a whole Spanish side of our website, and we have and so we also translate every one of the blogs that Dean writes for Real Self. It's translated into Spanish, and now we purposely have a Spanish receptionist who will completely get those phone calls for us. And we have really built a dramatic Spanish population now. And first of all, I love all patients. I don't care what color they are. And it's just, I'm so thrilled to have the Hispanic patients being built up in our practice. And so it's been a real natural for us to go that direction.
Yeah, I mean, listen, what's going on now in the world, and what color you are, and female, or in between. I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, everybody should be treated equal, and you are making them feel welcome. For a lot of practices, when it comes to the ethnic markets or unique markets, they are not. So I'm glad to hear that you're capturing the markets the way that you are, and doing a great job at it. I know for years you spent it, focusing on different markets, and now obviously learning more about the Spanish market. So you're doing a great job overall. Is there anything, I mean, I don't want to keep you longer. I know you have a lot to do today and your birthday day. Is there anything that you want to encourage somebody new who might be listening, who might be growing a practice or a med spa?
I do. It hit me question. Someone asked me that, and I was thinking about, okay, how did I gain the confidence and the experience that I've done? And I started out not knowing a thing. 30 years ago, I knew nothing about plastic surgery, cosmetic surgery. My background was public health. So I came in as a newbie. And what I actually did was, every time there was a plastic surgery meeting or a cosmetic meeting or one of these, like you've had meetings and Karen Zucko had meetings, and I would go to every meeting possible, and I would actually go and sit on the doctor level courses that Dean I was sitting next to him, watching how facelifts were done and how injectables were done and how breasts, and I mean in the real CME meetings that he was there for, I would sit right next to him that whole time throughout all these meetings, so that I understood what he was doing in surgery, so that I, as an educator, I could actually, know what I was talking about. And I think to give anybody who's starting in practice or a coordinator in practice, how do you gain that sense of experience? You have to really learn it. I mean, you really have to actually study it, learn it, watch the experts, go to these meetings, and really sit on, if your doctor is really into facelifts and you're trying to build up that facelift practice for him or her, you need to go to these meetings and sit next to your doctor and say, okay, watch this so that you understand the difference, the different smash facelifts from the platysmoplasties, it's just, you have to know all the details so that when you're trying to educate that patient, you gain the confidence by the education. And over time, you realize you're building up a really good, solid knowledge base. And that is what brought me to the level I'm at today. I could talk about, I know every detail about every surgery, about the breast surgery, the tummy tuck. I really know the details of flap surgery and the blood flow problems, and I can really educate. But it's because of all these years of learning it through the courseworks.
Right, and I think that's great. We've met at many meetings over the years. I actually think, though, Lauri, that right now, without meetings going on, as we know, we would have been in lots of meetings last month. Would the doctor have a staff member in there, not necessarily assisting, but just watching?
In the OR?
Yeah, so they could learn just the way you learned?
I think that's perfect. I think it's you can almost coordinate a video, do a video and learn at the same time. Like if you want to try to build up your video, educational videos for your website, start going into the OR with your doctor, start doing, 2-3 minute videos. Okay, doctor, what are you doing today? Let's talk about the breast lift you're doing today. Let's talk about the tummy tuck, and let that person stay and watch. Let them learn how the OR is run and what it takes to do a sterile technique and what they're doing in there. And let that doctor teach that coordinator exactly that. Have hands-on right in that OR.
Yeah, I think it'll give them more confidence.
Totally.
Now, if somebody comes to work and they want to get a surgical procedure done, in some practices they have to work 6 months, some they have to work a year. What is your protocol?
Oh, we have a 5-year. That's a minimum. Oh yeah.
I'm not starting you up 5 years.
Oh no, it's, I don't hire people with the thoughts that that's what they're coming for. So it's not in the cards if you think you're coming in for a year and having surgery. And I know when you started off, you said, well, you can't have your doctor say, your doctor, can't say that my employee had this. Well, to be honest, I think if a doctor is willing to do surgery for their employee, I think the employee needs to respond back to say, I'm willing to talk about it. I'm willing to go on social media for it. Like my staff knows, we just had an injectable day for my staff. Now, injectables are another thing. You still have to work for at least 6 months before you get a filler or something. But, but they know I'm all about social media and marketing, that we just had a Jeuveau day the other day, and everyone got videoed. Every single one of my employees got videoed, and we're going to put it together. But, I'm sorry, but that's an expectation. You want something from us, then you've got to give back. And the way to give back to your employer is to talk about it. Talk to friends and family and be willing to go on social media and be willing to do a video about yourself and a testimonial and write a review about your doctor. So, you don't get, it just doesn't come to you because you're working for us. We're willing to give, you got to give back. So that's the attitude I have with my staff.
Okay, and every practice is different. I think, it makes sense what you're saying. For some people, 5 years is a very long time. They might need it sooner, but I guess, it is what it is.
30 years of experience I've learned on that one.
So every 5 years you get something?
You stay long enough, we'll commit to you. You don't stay long enough, no.
I think that's good. And I think it's good to have rules and boundaries, and what works for you works, because I know you have long-term employees and everybody loves the two of you. And knowing that you're so happy, the staff is happy, it all starts at the top, which is the two of you. And then it trickles down. So if you're good to the people that work with you, they'll be happy, and then they will exude the happiness and the enthusiasm with the patients. So it
Right.
really just is an organizational chart going down, and it trickles down. And I think you're doing a great job at that. So in the future, we'll talk about maybe, the med spa side. Maybe we'll get some med spa, consults going and talk about the skin and how the skincare is promoted and then sold, used in the med spa, and then crossed over and upsold and cross-sold to the
Right.
surgical. So we could do that in the future. So I thank you so much again for being with us.
Thank you. Love being with you.
Always a pleasure. And you look great. Enjoy the rest of your birthday.
Thank you. I will. Thank you very much. All right.
Welcome. Thank
All
you
right. See you soon.
very much.
Bye.
So we're going to save the dates because every week we are booked through the end of August. And so keep up with us and watch for our proven success strategies. Actually, it's going to be global because we have speakers from all over the world now. So next week, join us to improve your patient loyalty in your existing business with Dr. Azza Halim from Boca Raton, who works alongside with, in the same practice anyway, the Sanctuary Medical Spa with Dr. Posner. And she creates very interesting 12-month strategy plans, blueprints. So we're going to be talking about that. And then we go into the mastering of virtual events and then virtual consults and rebooking and how is it working in Dr. Stanley Ocaro's practice for med spa as well as plastic surgery. And then we have a trend maker with us. So I'm very excited that Amy Amon will be with us. And she's a publisher. She's the editor or was the editor for Dermatology Times and involved in a lot of trade shows in the aesthetic industry. So she's going to talk about the trends moving forward out of the 2020, which we all would like to be out of by now, and get into 2021. And then we have a great lineup after this, from Israel to what's happening there to Italy, Cosmetic Doctor in Rome. And so we are becoming global. So stay with us, become global with us, and stay involved with our university. We have a pre-launch program going on now, Beautiful Forever University Special. And you also get a copy of the ebook, Beautifully Profitable, in its 6th edition. And we're working very hard to launch the university. So we already have a couple of dozen people signed up, and we have another half a dozen waiting to sign up today. So we're very excited about it. And you can increase your practice, your MediSpa, we guarantee it, between the content we have, the books we have, the articles that are published monthly, the columns that are published monthly, and all of our ongoing webinars and talks. And there'll be private sessions as well as discounts on consulting time. So I look forward to seeing you as part of Beautiful Forever University. You can email me at any time, Cheryl@beautifulforever.com, and have a great day.